It's called as the Elegy Written in a Country Churchyard by Thomas Gray. So the poem begins with the speaker observing a tranquility. Tranquility means called as a calm, silent, rural churchyard at twilight. Twilight means called as in between the evening and or you can say that when the sun is going to set down. The day is going to end and the peaceful setting contrast with the surely end of all human life. Now, did you find out that it is telling about nothing but the ending of the day and ending of the human's life, isn't it? As the darkness falls, the speaker contemplates the graves of the common people buried in the churchyard. Right. So, the poet stated what darkness falls, and also stating about that means the surely end of all human life. Right. So the speaker contemplates the graves of the common people who buried in the churchyard. He reflects on the simplicity and obscurity of their lives. So simplicity means that called as a commonness as well as obscurity. Obscurity means called as a something which is a stopping of their lives, right? End of their lives. That marked by the hard work, modest pleasures, and surely death, right? So these are the things that you would find out. Human being, believe in the hard work. Human being also believe in, simple happiness in life. And also the last one is called as a surely death. So the speaker shows the laments. Laments means called as a sadness. That what these humble villagers, right? These humble villagers means who live nearby that churchyard. So, though their lives were simple, also had untapped potential, right? Their life were considered as a simple, but at the same time, they do have the untapped potential that went unrecognized due to their lack of opportunity. So, the poet suggests that greatness is not only found among the wealthy or powerful people, right? So many of the buried villagers might have achieved much more if circumstances had allowed, right? Now, in that case, the poet makes the differentiation between whom now have or have not. It means people who have everything, but they can't achieve, right? So whatever means in their life, everything that they cannot achieve although they are wealthy and powerful people. But at the same time, if you talk about that common people or village people, they can achieve most of the things in their life, right? Even if they don't have wealth and the power. So if circumstances had allowed them. So the poet also said, but their quiet and unnoticed life. Quiet and unnoticed means what? The life is filled with nothing but calmness as well as unnoticed. Unnoticed means somebody who did not notice them, right? Or you can say that they are not that famous, right? So their quiet and unnoticed lives spared them from the corruptions of ambition and also fame. So you can say that what they are not involved in the corruption and they are not involved in the they don't have the huge ambition in their life. Give me a second. Okay. So the poem then imagines a future where the speaker himself has died. Right? The poet talks about who? Rich people, poor people, common people, the general thought about the lives, right? So then the poet stated that what the poem then imagines a future where the speaker himself has died and a passing villager, right, who remembers seeing him as a solitary figure, a person who goes on a road and sees himself as a nothing but a means what you can say that solitary. Solitary means lonely figure. So wandering in the countryside, so moving here and there in the rural areas. So and thinking life's mysteries and ultimately disappearing. So the speaker sees the future and thinking about own epitaph. What do you mean by epitaph? The meaning of epitaph is called as where the man is buried. So that buried ground where it is written the name of the person who died and his birth date and his death date, isn't it? So that is known as an epitaph, which speaks of a humble, unknown youth marked by melancholy, but sincere and generous in spirit. So the poet stated that what the person who buried in the ground in that epitaph, his name and his birth and the death that is written. And that reflects the man is a what that man is all about. That man is a humble, that man is nothing but a unknown, unfamiliar, so and filled with nothing but a lot of unhappiness in his life. So, but he is sincere, he is generous, kind-hearted in spirit. The epitaph ends by urging the reader not to seek further knowledge of his virtues or flaws, for they now rest with your God. Now, means the epitaph. So, the inscription written on the stone indicates that what the man is dead, right? And now the man doesn't have to, develop his knowledge and doesn't need to think about the qualities or doesn't think about what means the mistake or correctness, right? Because now his life is end, right? And now he becomes the part of the God. Got my point? So, if you talk about that, the theme of the text is what? The theme of the text is called the mortality. Right? When we talk about mortality and passage of time, so when you say immortal and mortal, mortal means what? Whose end is there. Immortal is called as a never ending. So, and passage of time. The poem meditates of the surely of death. The poem talks about what? That death is something which is surely happen. So, which comes to all people, regardless which society he belongs, whether he belongs to high society or low society. So, his death is sure. So, the poem also talks about social inequality and unrecognized potential. Social inequality and unrecognized potential means the poem reflects that how social and economic circumstances, economic situation limit the opportunities of many, but also protect them from the corrupting influences of power and wealth. Right. So the poet stated that what society where in which people live and the economic situation, financial circumstances, so that actually make some people give a lot of opportunity, but that also do not give most of the people any opportunity, right? So, and also protect them from corrupting influences of power and wealth. Next, you would find out the theme also stated about the value of simplicity. What is the value of simplicity? The point suggests that there is a dignity. Dignity means self-respect. There is self-respect and worth in the simple, humble lives of the common people, even if they go unnoticed by the wider world. Right? The world may not notice these people, but their lives are humble and their lives refer them as the common people, right? So the fourth one you can talk about the power of memory and legacy. When you talk about the power of memory and legacy, the poet clearly emphasized that while life is a transient, life is what? Transient. What do you mean by transient? That called as a passing from one side to the other. While life is a transient, moving from one side to the another, memory and the modest records, memory and the modest records of humble people that save their stories and virtues. Right? If you talk about that, life is very short, but at the same time, the thing that you have done is nothing but a memory, isn't it? And that memory and the behavior or the kind of simplicity, the kind of a good work you did, all have been recorded. That what you are humble people, right? And you save your, what you can say, stories and your virtues. Your qualities and stories will be remembered by the people, isn't it? So these are nothing but called as a theme of the poem, right? So which is called as a elegy written in a country churchyard. Now let's go to the stanza by stanza point. So when we talk about the elegy written in a country churchyard by Thomas Gray, it is a reflective poem. What kind of a poem? Reflective poem. What do you mean by reflective? The poem that reminds you that what? Now, how the death age surely happened. How death age surely happened. And how the time passes quickly. So, and how the lives of the ordinary people who are buried in a rural churchyard, isn't it? So these are the things the poem indicates. Now, the first stanza stated that the curfew tolls the knell of a parting day. The lowing herd winds slowly over the lea. The plowman homeward plods his very way and leaves the world to darkness and to me. So the poem opens with what? That stated the curfew tolls the knell of a parting day. So the poem opens with a dusk. Dusk means called as a twilight, evening, as the curfew. Curfew means everywhere silence. So a bell indicating that there is the end of the day, right? So the bell tolls like a knell. The bell tolls like a knell means what? Like a funeral day. Funeral day means death day. So symbolizing the end of the day and metaphorically the end of life. End of the day means end of life. So the lowing herd is refers to what? That cows moving slowly across the lea. Lea means meadow, right? Meadow means called as a grazing area. So, and the plowman. What do you mean by plowman? A farmer, right? So, who is heading home after a long day of work? This indicates that a hard work. So, leaving the world in darkness and he finds himself alone. So, this stanza sets a somber, this stanza sets a reflective tone, right? So, it recollects the ordinary people, right or not? So, the poet used nothing but the kind of a poetic device in this poem. It's called as a metaphor. Metaphor is what? That called as a direct comparison. How? Now, when you say curfew tolls the knell of parting day. Curfew tolls the knell of parting day means what? Like the end of the day, end of the life, right? So, this stanza also indicates imagery. Imagery is indicating create a broad picture of a rural scene. Like when you go to the village area, you find out the evening situation, evening time, right? Very few people walk on the road, right? So this poem also carries with the alliteration. Alliteration means repetition. So in which the poet used the term called as a plowman plots. So papa, that creates a rhythmic sound. Isn't it? That is what the first stanza. Now, second stanza stated, now fades the glimmering landscape on the sight, and all the air a solemn stillness holds, save where the beetle builds his droning flight, and drowsy tinklings lull the distant folds. So, the poet stated in this second stanza that now fades the glimmering landscape on the sight. It means as the night falls, the landscape becomes deep and difficult to identify. So where you find out you can't see the road, right? So a solemn stillness that indicates about settles over the area. So it seems like the area is full of what? Calm. So broken only by the sound of a beetle flying and the faint. You also find out what? The area is silent, but the sound of the insect that could be heard. So sleepy sounds of sheep bells. So drowsy tinkling in a distant pasture, right? So folds the quietness emphasizes the mood of reflection and peace. So this indicates about what? You find out the animals, insect, the environment, which the environment is a peaceful, the sound of the insects, the bell sound of the sheep, or called as the sound of the cows, right? That could be heard, and that reminds nothing but the peace, right? So here also the poet used the poetic device, like you can say imagery, like landscape and the sound of light. The poet also uses onomatopoeia. What is that? That onomatopoeia is called as a sudden sound, right? Like droning flight. Droning flight means the sound of the insect. So also you would find out personification. Personification is how the person is compared, how the human is compared. So you would find out the sound of means air seeming like the sound of the human qualities, right? So in that case, the the personification can be identified here. Next is called as a stanza 3. In stanza 3, we find out, said that from yonder ivy mantled tower, the moping owl does to the moon complain of such as wandering near her secret bower, molest her ancient solitary red. So the only other sound, right, that is the moping owl. Moping owl means what? That called as an owl who is crying. An owl that is crying. So it is stated, said that from yonder ivy mantle tower, the moping owl does to the moon complain. So it indicates that the only other sound is the melancholy owl in an ivy mantled tower. What do you mean by ivy mantled tower? It is indicating an old and ivy covered tower. Ivy is the name of the plant, right, that covered the tower, right? Covered the tower means that, that climbed or that rounded and rounded and hold the whole tower. So the owl complains to the moon. The owl complains to the moon. What? About people who disturb her secret bower, right? So the owl is nothing but complaining. Complaining what? That how people are means disturbing. Disturbing what? Disturbing its hidden place, right? And her unseen solitary reign. Unseen solitary reign means called as a long held solitude. So the owl lives in a solitude, lonely life. So, and this brings or this further adds to the sense of what? Loneliness quite in the churchyard, right? So then you would find out stanza 4. In stanza 4, you would find out that beneath those rocked elms, that the yew trees shade, where heaps the turf in many a mouldering heap, each in its narrow cell forever laid. The rude forefathers of the hamlet sleep. Now, the speaker describes the grapes beneath rock dells. Beneath those rock dells. Beneath those rock dells means what? That called as a beneath those rock dells and the yew tree said. Right? It means under the earth. Right? People's dead bodies are buried. Right? When the earth rises in moldering heaps, decaying mounds, so that here lies to the rude forefathers of the village, who sleep forever in their narrow cells, the graves of the common people who are simple and humble. So here the you can say that the speaker points out that the simple, common, humble villagers and their forefathers, they all have died and their dead bodies are buried under the earth. Isn't it? So then in stanza 5, it is stated that the breezy call of license, not license, incense breathing myrrh, right? The breezy call of incense breathing myrrh, the swallow twittering from the straw built shed, the cock's shrill clarion, or the echoing horn, no more shall rouse them from their lowly bed. So the poet stated that the breezy call of incense breathing morn, it means the dead villagers will never again hear the breezy call. What do you mean by breezy call? that called as a means the gentle wind sound of morning, the sound of swallows, the swallow twittering from the straw belt shed. It indicates the sound of the swallow chirping from their nest. The cock's shrill clarion. So, or the hern calling them to walk. These everyday sounds are life, no longer wake the dead from their lowly bed. So, here when we talk about lowly bed, the meaning of lowly bed is called as a graveyard, right? So, the people who are dead, their dead bodies are buried. So, and that is known as a grave. So, the poet said that neither any swallows nor any cock. So the sound of their in the early morning time will not make them wake. Will not make them wake. Why? Because they are dead. They are dead and their bodies are buried in the ground. Isn't it? So that is why it is called as the breezy call of incense breathing morn. So during morning time, the gentle wind, right, that cannot make them wake up, neither, right, nor the swallow twittering from the straw belt shed. So means that the swallow that built the nest in the tree, or nor the cock's loud sound, right, or the echoing herd will make them wake up from their grave, right? So the stanza 6 said, for them no more the blazing earth shall burn. For them no more the blazing earth shall burn, or busy housewife ply her evening care. No children run to lift their sire's return, or climb its knees the envied kiss to share. So, for them no more the blazing earth shall burn, or busy housewife move her evening care. No children run to lift their sire's return, or climb its knees the envied kiss to share. So, the poet said that the dead will no longer experience, right? No longer experience what? The warmth of a blazing earth. So, and see a busy housewife doing her evening chores. So, you won't find out the people who are dead, they cannot see the sign of the fire, blazing earth, nor they see that their housewives doing her evening job, right or not? So, in evening time, so we talk about the morning, we talk about the evening also. So, or enjoy children running to greet their father when he returns home, right? So, the children will no longer climb on their father's knee to receive a cherished kiss. So, in that case, you would find out the poet stated about these people who have died. Neither they can wake up nor they can enjoy the time in the evening, right? When they sit outside and taking nothing but the blazing earth, that called as a rage of the fire, right? So, not they see their wife, not they see their wife. So, who is doing evening job, not they see their children will come to him, climb on their knees and hold him by calling father, father, and getting kiss from him, right? So not he will get any kind of happiness. Often did, so stanza 7, often did the harvest to their sickle yield, their furrow often the stubborn glebe has broke. How jocund did they drive their team afield? How bowed the woods beneath their sturdy stroke? So the speaker reflects on the villagers' hard work by stating that often did the harvest. Harvest means called as after you did the farming. Yeah. So you cultivate the farming. So you harvest it, isn't it? So the speaker reflects on the villagers' hard work. They frequently reaped the harvest with the sickle. Sickle is an instrument, right? So broke the stubborn soil with their plows and drove their teams of animals joyfully across the field. Now, did you see that how the people do the cultivation and farming, right? So they keep the two cows and you also find out that they use the animals means joyfully across the field, right? So their labor, so it seems like they are very hardworking. Their labor made the woods bend beneath their sturdy strokes. Sturdy strokes means called as a chopping wood. So this stanza shows that villagers' strength and resilience. Villagers' strength and resilience. But that strength and resilience will be no more after their death, isn't it? So the poet stated in the stanza 8 that what? Let not ambition mock their youthful talk. Right? Let not ambition mock their youthful toil, their homely joys and destiny obscure, nor grandeur pure with a disdainful smile, the short and simple annals of the poet. So the speaker advises that ambition should not criticize the religion, right? Because of the ambition, many of the villagers come from village to city, right? So ambition should not criticize the villagers, right? Youthful toil or simple joys not should grandeur. So youthful toil or simple happiness that cannot, you can say that grandeur look down on the short and simple animals, right? So the poet stated that what means wealthy and powerful people, right, do not get the thing. So when you say grandeur, grandeur means referring to the wealthy and powerful people. So do not get what they desire from their life. But poor people, farmers, they get everything right in their life. So short and simple annals, stories of the poor. This particular stanza challenges what? The dismissive attitude of those. Dismissive attitude means who criticizes, right? So, and who see no value in the lives of the humble and ordinary people. So rich people always find out that the ordinary people and they don't have humbleness and they don't have good life, right? Let's skip till this stanza 8. How many stanzas are there? Many. 32. Skip till this.